Hello everyone, welcome to 60 Seconds to Code, where I show you how to code in 60 seconds or less. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to build, well, I didn't build it, but you will know what I mean by that, how to create a web chat interface for Amazon Lex. Now, the JavaScript and the HTML that I wrote here, parts of it were actually written by somebody else. And obviously, whenever we want to create any code or anything like that, we want to give proper credit. And especially because I copied some of the code, I'm going to give proper credit. I'll provide the link in the description below, and you will also find the link to the original where I downloaded the HTML and the bootstrap code of this you will find. Now, the simpletat.js file that I'm going to be showing you today, I wrote myself. But after that, a little bit of disclaimer that not all the code that I'm going to be showing you today is I wrote myself. What am I going to be showing you today? I'm going to be showing you how to write a simple chat interface using JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. What I'm going to do, or what I did, was I downloaded the JavaScript, not the JavaScript, the CSS and HTML from an available Bootstrap. So if you just go to Google and type Bootstrap chat examples, you will find plenty of chat examples online. I just found one and I started using it. But today I'm going to show you how I wrote the JavaScript behind that simple chat interface. Now, what's the purpose of all this? Why am I steering slightly away from my usual cloud videos? The reason is that I'm going to be using this chat interface that I wrote, and I'm going to be hosting this locally. I'm going to be using this chat interface to host it in a CloudFormation, in a what's that called? I forgot the name of the AWS service. But basically, it's for edge caching. It's a content delivery network that AWS has. As soon as the name will come to me soon enough. What the purpose of today's video is how I create the chat interface and how how just go over a little bit of that. CloudFront, there it is. Now I have it. I'm going to be hosting this eventually in CloudFront, but today I'm just going to go over the code of that and how I created that. So let's get right into it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to git clone the repository, and you will find the excuse me, you will find the exact link to this git clone repository in the links in the video description below. So let's go into that repository that I just cloned, and let's do a directory on that, and there we go. Very good. So that was for the first part. We cloned the Git repository. Now it's time to do an npm install of a library that you're going to use in order to host this library. Meaning when you run this command, when you install this, it'll install a local HTTP server. It's a very simple HTTP server that you can run using Node.js. And the command that you're going to need is npm install -- global space HTTP server. That's the name of the npm package that you're going to need. Npm install, you want to install it globally so that you can run this from anywhere. And the package, the module from the npm that we're going to be downloading is called HTTP server. So let's hit enter. Obviously, I've already downloaded it, so this probably will either error out or it'll say that it has already been installed. It's starting to make a liar out of me for some reason. It should have either started. There it is. There it goes. And let's watch it working. Well, I don't know why it's downloading it again because I don't think it needed it. But there it is. It downloaded the latest version of the HTTP server. But what is the purpose of downloading this HTTP server? I'm going to show you what I mean by that right now. If you go into the, by the way, before we go any further, the video that I'm showing you today, or the video that I'm doing today, is assuming a lot of familiarity with stuff. So if you don't have familiarity with this, there's plenty of starter videos available online. A little bit of familiarity with Git and Node.js, as well as HTML, jQuery, CSS, and Bootstrap is assumed in this video. So those are your prerequisites right there. What I'm going to be showing you, or what I'm going to be showing you how to do, is how to use jQuery to write this simple chat interface. So now that we have this simple HTTP server installed, I'm going to show you my package lock JSON file. Sorry, not package lock, the package JSON file. Notice that in this npm package I'm running, I have configured one script, and I've called it the start script. And if I type npm start, it will run the following command in the command window. So let's go ahead and type npm start just to do that. And what you will see is it will immediately start up the HTTP server, and it will start serving the content of the current directory at a URL. So this is the URL right here. I'm not going to click on this URL because it's not going to function right now. I'm going to hit cancel and stop the HTTP server. And now that we have the npm function, now it's time to do an npm install and get all the dependencies that this package is going to need. Now, all the steps that I'm doing today, all the steps that I'm doing right now, basically pay attention on, because we're going to be automating these steps in a future video using either one of the CI/CD tools provided by AWS, either code pipelines and code build, etc. I'll show you what those will look like in the future. So today I'm going to run an npm install on the current folder, and what this will do is before I run the npm install, notice there is no node modules folder in the left-hand side. As soon as I run the npm install, what I should see is all the package dependencies that are defined in the package lock JSON file, which is two dependencies, the Bootstrap and jQuery, should install, and the npm install should create a node modules folder with those two modules available in there. So let's go ahead and do an npm install and watch it download those two packages. And while it's downloading the package, after it's done doing the install, what we need to do is those package files, those distribution files from these packages, which include jQuery and Bootstrap, we need to put them in their appropriate folders. So there is a dependency for this particular package that we need Bootstrap min and Bootstrap map.css, as well as Bootstrap's JS file, as well as jQuery's JS file. Obviously, if I expand the JS file, those items are not in there currently. Those files are not in there. So let's go ahead and expand the node modules folder. First, look at Bootstrap, expand the distributable. By the way, the distributable folder, the dist folder, is going to contain those files that are actually distributable and are minified, and you can include them in your as part of your packages. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find the two files that I need, which include bootstrap min and bootstrap min map.css. So there it is, bootstrap min CSS and bootstrap min map.css. I'm just going to Control C, copy those files, and place them in my CSS folder. By the way, this font awesome library, I couldn't find an npm package for it. If you do locate an npm package for this font awesome CSS library, let me know, but I couldn't locate a package for it. That's why I had to include it. It's not part of the node modules. But basically, this CSS dependency comes from the original author of the HTML and Bootstrap that I'm going to be demonstrating for you today. So you will find a link to that original page in the description below. So now that we have added bootstrap min.css and bootstrap min.css.map, the next dependency that we need to add to the JS folder are the distributable for the JS for Bootstrap, which include bootstrap.min.js. So let's go ahead and paste that into the JavaScript folder. And second, we need the jQuery distributable. So let's go expand. For some reason, my mouse is not cooperating, but there it goes. Let's minimize Bootstrap. We don't longer need it. Let's expand jQuery, go to distributable, and find the jQuery min.js. And there it is. And let's Control C that and put that into the JS folder as well. So now the jQuery min, the Bootstrap min, on all the dependencies that the HTML file needs are there. So let's go ahead and inspect that my HTML file and what that looks like, what my chat widget is going to look like. clean this up a little bit, close all these extra editor windows that I have open here so that it's not so cluttered up. And let's find our index.html file. This is, whoops, I did not mean to do that. This is the node modules folder. This is the index.html file. So there is our index.html. Let's go over a little bit. You will find that I downloaded the HTML code for this, including the bootstrap and etc. All of this is downloaded originally from the following website. Go ahead, go check them out. But this is for educational purposes only. So if you are the original author, I've given proper credit. And remember, if you use anybody else's code, remember to always give due credit. That's how it works in the code world. We don't pass off other people's work as our own. So the only thing that I wrote as part of this entire project is actually this. Whoops, other than obviously setting up the project itself. For some reason, my mouse disappeared on me again. Oh, come on, what's going on right now? Maybe the video stopped working on me as well. All right, after that brief interlude, let's continue with the video. Sorry about that. For some reason, I simply could not get my mouse to appear again. It just, something captured it and it would not let go. But we're back. So here we go. As you can see, we need the following dependencies. We need the Bootstrap and the font awesome CSS. You will find them in the CSS folders. And finally, we have on the bottom the JavaScript dependencies, which is jQuery and Bootstrap. Simplechat.js is the only file I wrote. But let's go ahead and take a look at this web chat interface in action. So let's go ahead and do npm and npm start in npm start. Yeah, something really trippy is going on my computer right now. For some reason, I can't. There we go. It's working. Let's go ahead and follow the link. Open up simple chat, and there it is. Now, what I have done here is I've written a chat interface in which if you type the word joke in the chat window and press send or hit enter, the chat window will respond with a joke or a dad joke. And if you say, what's that called, a fact, and go ahead and click send, it will respond with a random fact. A giraffe can go without water longer than a camel. Okay, that's an interesting fact. So this is what I have created, and this is what I'm going to be demonstrating for you today on how I wrote this. So let's go ahead and kill the HTTP server, and let's first inspect the HTML. After the usual doc type and head and references to the external HTMLs, you have the building blocks of the HTML. Go ahead, feel free to look at the interesting, the HTML, whatever you find interesting is fine. But the more interesting piece, the most interesting piece starts happening between line 39 and between line 39 and line 76 and 76. So what I want you to do is when you get a chance, uncomment those lines and basically and comment out the simple chat.js from the line. And basically what you will see is you will see these static HTML is showing up on the page as the author who originally wrote this HTML originally intended. Now, what is the purpose of me showing you the static HTML? This static HTML is what we're adding as soon as we type something into this, message window. The HTML that contains all of the elements, including this agent icon, this agent text, the text itself, all of that static HTML is actually defined in this HTML. Now, how am I making it dynamic such that when you type joke, a joke appears, and when I type fact, a fact appears? I'm going to be describing for you. So your first job is to uncomment these and comment out this simple chat.js and go ahead and take a look at this HTML and how it interacts. Once you're done taking a look at that HTML and what it looks like, what the static HTML looks like, then I'm going to go over to right now pardon me, how I make it dynamic. So let's go ahead and first take a look at simple chat.js. And let's go expand JavaScript and open up simple chat.js. Okay, I have a plethora of functions defined here, but as usual, because I'm using jQuery and this is a jQuery, sample, you have a classic document ready function. For those of you who don't know, document ready is just when the document object model fires the event in which it states that the current document, which is the current HTML file in this case, is finished loading, and as soon as that ready event fires, this function is going to be called. This function, this document ready function is what's going to be called. And as soon as that happens, we're going to receive a console ready. Now, the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to display a left message. And what do I mean by a left message in just a second? What do I mean by display left message? Display left message is a function that is going to add the following text to the chat window, just like this. So as soon as the page loaded, right? As soon as we came into the HTML, let me go ahead and do an npm start. I think I stopped it. We'll go ahead and do an npm start and hit refresh on this guy. Actually, it'll take a second because I don't think I had a chance to. Yeah, it now showed up. There we go. Okay, Bootstrap. Oh, I forgot the Bootstrap bundle min.js file. Okay, one dependency that I forgot to put in is the bootstrap bundle min.js file. So let me go ahead and put that in there as well. Let me cancel this guy because that's what this error is telling me. So I'm going to go node modules, go to bootstrap, distributable, JavaScript, and find bootstrap.bundle.min, bootstrap.bundle.min.js, copy that file and put that in the JS folder as well. It's one dependency I forgot to put in, and that's why I was getting all those errors. Let me close this errand. And let's go ahead and do an npm start. And hit refresh on this guy. And I should no longer be getting any errors, which I'm not. It's able to find the bootstrap bundle min.js, so I'm good. Now, where were we? The very first thing that happens as soon as this page loads is it displays left message, which basically means in my nomenclature, the icon for the agent is on the left-hand side, which is what I have mean that as soon as this function is called, whatever is passed to the message, whatever text/string is passed to this function, it will render that HTML on the left-hand side with agent text on the chat window. So that is the very first thing we do. As soon as the page is done loading, whenever the document ready function fires, we fire up and we write to the chat window, welcome to chat. You can tell me a joke, or you can say, tell me a joke or tell me a fact. And that's what you're seeing on the window right here. Welcome to chat. You can say, tell me a joke or tell me a fact. Now, how am I achieving this? Let's go ahead and take a look at the display left message function. So that's an instance. The definition is right here. Display left message. It accepts accepts an argument called message, and the very first thing it does is gets a formatted date. If you want, you can take a look. Oh my God, my mouse disappeared again. Nope, it did not. This get formatted date will return a date in the proper format, and the format that it expects is in the following format: October 21st, 9:09 p.m. And I want it in that format. And basically, this is a helper function that I wrote. You can go ahead and take a look at the code of that helper function, and it will return the current date and time in that format: October 21st, 9:09 p.m. And then we're going to store that in the current date time variable. Now, if you've done the due diligence and if you actually looked at the index.html file, what you will find is this HTML right here is actually the same HTML that you see in the chat in the index.html file commented out, which is from here, line 39, all the way down to line 48, which is direct chat message. And then the other one is direct chat message, right? This one is just called direct chat message. Notice that what I'm doing here is instead of writing it in a multi-line string, I put everything into a single line. And where the HTML, if you had a chance to inspect the HTML, the message slash text that is expected within that HTML object, I'm actually just concatenating the message string as well as the current date time into that HTML. So let's take a look at what that looks like. If I go into string, go right, and as you can see, the date time is added to the timestamp, direct chat timestamp location, and that's where the current date time will go, and the message will go in the direct chat text div class right here. Now that we have the string version of this HTML, we now need to parse that HTML so that that can be added to the document object. So what we do is we call the jQuery.parseHTML, and we parse the string into an HTML file. As soon as we do that, we will be able to then append that HTML to the following direct chat messages div. So let's go ahead and inspect. Oops. And let's go ahead and fire up developer tools and inspect that div. This is, come on. This is the div. And if I selected it correctly, this is the, yep, that is the div. It will append that HTML to the direct chat messages window. So as soon as the page is done loading, it will write a write message or a display right message, display left message in the chat window. So where were we? We were in the document ready function. Next, what we need to do is, and whenever somebody types something into the chat window, right? In this case, we're writing something here. Whatever is typed into this text box, we need to come into possession of it so that we can pass it, and so that we are in possession of it and we can pass it so that we can write it to the HTML on the page. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a jQuery selector. Excuse me. Is I'm using a jQuery selector, and I am making a call to, as soon as, you know what, I will come back to this one in just a second. I owe you the explanation of why I'm doing that one. But first, let me tell you why I'm doing it here. In order to come into possession of this of this text, what I'm doing is I'm writing a selector on the send button, and I'm binding which is the send button right here, and I'm binding a click event. And as soon as this button, the send button, is clicked, I'm going to call the make AJAX call function. Now, the only other thing different here is all this one is doing is it's doing this exact same make AJAX call. It's doing the exact same thing. The only difference is that this one is binding it to the send button, but this one is doing it is as soon as you press the enter button, in which case the event, in your case, the key press is 13, which is the enter button. So let's go ahead and take a look at the make AJAX call by going to the definition. All right, we are going to make the AJAX call. Now that we're in this function call, what we're going to need is, first, we need the value of this particular field, whatever is typed. So as soon as you hit the send button, what is going to happen is it will first take a look at the input HTML elements on the page, and it will look at for where the type is equal to text and the name is equal to message, and it will store its value into this message variable. And as soon as it's in possession of this message variable, by the way, I've commented the code so you can read my comments. As soon as it comes into possession of this message, we can now clear the value. So what you saw happen was as soon as I, as soon as I typed, and as soon as I pressed send, um, it cleared the chat window as well. It cleared the message from the chat window. So there it goes, the ASDF, I typed it. As soon as I pressed send, it cleared it. And that is what I'm doing here. I'm clearing the value from that input field. Now that we have that message, what we're going to do is we're going to display right message. We're going to call display right message, just like we did with the display left message. In our case, the icon, because this is what the customer is writing, the display write message call is going to write the following HTML to the page. So let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the definition of the display write message. And it's going to be pretty much identical, almost identical to the display left message function. The only difference between the display left message and the display right message is instead of showing the agent icon in the HTML, it'll show the customer icon. And instead of showing the date time on the right hand side, it'll show the display the date time on the left side. That's the only difference. All right, and display right message. Where were we? Make Ajax call. Nope, we were in make Ajax call. Yes, that's where we were. Let's go to definition and make the Ajax call. Now that we have cleared the value of the text input, we are now ready to, we just displayed the value on the right message. We are now ready to asynchronously make a call to the get next utterance meaning I want to write something into the chat window and basically send this message. Now, what we're going to do is in this async get next utterance, we're going to parse the content of this message. And depending on if the user typed joke or fact, we're accordingly going to make a call to two different API endpoints. So let's go ahead and go to the function here. Let's go to the definition of this function. And in here we have the function async get next utterance message. What we're going to do as a response to this, and again, it requires a little bit of familiarity with the JavaScript, we're going to return a new promise, and we're going to pass the two functions in case what to do if it's the promise is resolved, or what to do in case if the promise is rejected. Now, this is where the magic happens. We're going to check whatever the person typed. We stored it in the message variable, and we made a call to the async get next utterance with the message variable. We're going to lowercase it, and if we're going to see if it includes the word joke in it. If it includes the word joke in it, we're going to make the following Ajax call. If you want, you can read read more about the Ajax call here in the jQuery documentation. Otherwise, if the customer did not type joke, or if they type anything else, we're going to respond with a random fact. And this is the Ajax call that they're going to make. This is this Ajax call that we're going to make in order to get a random fact. So as a result of this promise, we're either going to make a call to this API, an Ajax call to this API, or an Ajax call to this API. And as a result, we're going to enter into two possible cases. Either this function is going to return success, meaning we are going to get a successful response from this API, in which case we're going to get some data. And when we're going to make a resolved call, which is to the resolved function, which is we're passing this resolved function as an argument to this function call, and we're going to make call to the resolved function using the data that was returned. However, if there was an error, we're going to make a call to the rejected function and we're going to pass in the error that was returned. So which two error messages? Excuse me. What did I do? I go to the definition. Yes. Okay. Excuse me. Now I'm missing something here. For some reason, I can't figure out where this is the make Ajax call, and on rejected. This is the on rejected definition. Okay, there we go. This is the make Ajax call. Now we made the Ajax call. The asynchronous get next utterance is going to pass this async get next utterance to this async get next utterance what am I saying, function, and pass the message, and then await the response from that. It's either going to return a data, in which case we're going to call the unfulfilled method, or it is going to return an error, in which case it's going to call the onRejected method. Now, you remember these resolved and rejected? These two are the functions that are going to be called from this method right here, which is going to be make Ajax call. Where is the make Ajax call again? There it is. This is the make Ajax call. So now we made a call to the asynchronous get next utterance, and in that we passed the message and we got the Ajax call. And in our case, we got the fulfillment and we got the data. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the unfulfilled method. Let's find the unfulfilled method, which is this method right here. If the data that is returned has a value, has a variable called .joke, then we're going to display a left message, which is a response that is going to include the data returned from the joke. Otherwise, we're going to display a left message that is going to return the data from the text. So let's go ahead and follow along this in our chat window. Let's go ahead and type joke. And notice it will return a joke. And let's go ahead and type fact. And notice it is going to return a fact. One thing I want you to do is I want you to basically break this API call. Either mistype this or basically introduce an error so that this Ajax call, this API call fails. Perhaps do something like this. Instead of HTTPS, do HTTPS or something like that. And as a result, what's going to happen is this make Ajax call is going to fail. This make Ajax call is going to return not data, because obviously the promise will not be fulfilled. There will be an error. It'll make a call to the onRejected function. So let's go ahead and find out what happens on rejected. OnRejected will display on the left-hand side, on the left-hand message, an error has occurred. Please try again later, just that text message. And then it will stringify the error that was returned and write it to the console. And at this point, as a return of the promise, you can do whatever you like. Now that we have gone through the details of how this thing functions, we have run the npm start, and now the chat is running, and we've gone through. You have multiple homeworks to do. What I want you to do is I want you to run through using the comments that I have provided and how everything is proceeding. I want you to run through and figure out step by step what exactly I'm doing in this simple tat.js file. It's important to be able to read and follow other people's code, and how to write code includes how to comment code as well. You want other people to be able to follow your code, and in case you yourself want to follow your own code at some time in the future, should be able to do that. So go ahead using the video and basically setting breakpoints within Chrome, and going into the into the sources, then setting breakpoints at appropriate locations. Try to figure out what I am doing within my code. That's going to be the first part of your homework. Second part of your homework is I want you to find another API. Now, in this case, if the text lowercase includes joke, I am returning this joke. Otherwise, I'm returning this fact. This is the API I'm calling. What I want you to do is perhaps, I don't know, include a third API, perhaps a riddle API, that if somebody types riddle into the chat window, I want you to return or ask them a riddle. Now, bonus points if you can get the answer to the riddle from the same API, from the same chat window. Okay, that would be really fun to do. Go ahead, you can try doing that. Another homework is to what I want you to try to do is, by default, or at least in there is a slight error that I've left in here. You can click this send button. Now notice what happened. Even when the message was blank, the send button is still available and clickable. I want you to figure out if you can make it such that the send button is disabled until somebody types something in here, so that once you press enter and once you press send, you are only allowed to do that once you have actually typed something. Otherwise, disable this send button and make sure that pressing enter when there has been nothing entered in this chat, in this message box, nothing actually happens. Because notice what happened here. If I press send with using a blank message, notice there's a slight bit of an error. It's not showing anything, and it's like a collapsed div. It doesn't look very good. So that's part of your homework. So what is the purpose of all this, right? Whoops, I opened my OBS Studio by accident. What is the purpose of all this? The purpose of all of this is we're going to eventually host this in AWS. We're going to host this chat functionality in AWS, and we're going to front it in a CloudFront distribution, and we are going to connect it to a custom domain, and we're going to secure it with um, an SSL certificate, so on and so forth. We're going to do all that. But for now, go ahead, explore my code and see what I'm doing and how everything is done. And also, some of the steps that you saw me do earlier today, we will be doing that we'll also be doing that as part of um, a CI/CD pipeline, most likely using AWS CI/CD tools. So that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys later.